and welcome to this Draw With Me. I'm Julia, a teacher and illustrator from Oldenburg, Northern Germany, and today I want to draw a cute little Halloween witch with you. And I wanted to use that opportunity to introduce my first texture overlay for Procreate. Now, if you don't know what a texture overlay is, let me just quickly show you. It's basically a texture, or in this case, it's a group of textures which you put over your illustrations. And these textures are all set to different blending modes like multiply, color burn, add. And if you toggle that on, your illustration will look more textured and in this case also more vibrant. So let me quickly show you. This is the illustration with the overlay and this is the illustration without the overlay. I've got another example here, which is kind of a side by side. Here I didn't use an overlay and here I did use it. And I think especially with a background, you can tell that this overlay adds immediate texture and interest to your illustration. And this is why I like to use it, because it's just a very, very quick way to make your illustration look more handmade. Now you can buy this overlay on my Ko-fi, but you could also wait and take my upcoming Skillshare texture class. This class will be published sometime in October. I can't really tell you a set date yet, but in this class you will get the overlay plus a little brush set I created especially for the class, and you will get both that for free. And I will announce the class here on my YouTube, and then you can follow a link and take the class and get the overlay and the brush set if you like. Now for the witch, I used a reference photo and I think I found this photo on Pinterest, maybe on Google, but maybe Pinterest, I'm not quite sure. And what I typed in was just girl holding ball, and I really liked this look here. And this photo was especially helpful with the hand. I think I could probably have done the rest without it, but you know, I always struggle with drawing hands, so this was really nice to have as a reference. And it's also nice to just have a starting point if you want to start drawing, and I used that reference photo for that. Now I can just close that. And I created this sketch with the dry ink brush, which is in the inking section, and I used kind of a reddish brown. Yes, so the first sketch is a very rough one. I'm just drawing in a circle for the head and some lines for the eyes, the mouth and the nose, and adding in all the other elements like her hair, the ball/pumpkin, which of course needs a little head, and I'm just drawing in very rough circles for her eyes. And then I will be adding a new layer on top of that one. I will reduce the opacity of that first sketch and draw on top of it. And this time I make sure to have a much cleaner line work. At this point I'm often not sure whether I want to keep the line work in the end, so what I will do is to have a very nice line work which I could use for my final artwork, and if I don't want to use it then I will delete it. And you can also see me selecting some parts and moving them around a bit. Sometimes also, yes, like here I make parts smaller, I select them and make them a bit smaller. And overall I'll just refine the sketch by making the line work much cleaner and nicer to look at. Working a bit on her hand. As you can see, you can zoom in with the reference photo. That can be quite helpful sometimes. Okay, so now let me see. The sketch is already set to multiply and I will start adding color. And I Recently I just started to use the selection tool to add my first base layer of color, just because it's much quicker and I want to make sure that my base layer is completely opaque. And using brushes, especially textured brushes or watercolor brushes, you don't always get a completely opaque result. So I will be using the freehand selection, and I will be starting with her dress, and I like to use that bright pink. So this is set to color fill, and I will just go around her dress. And I'm not too meticulous because I like to make my edges look more textured with another brush anyways. Okay, the hair will be on top, so I can just paint it like that. And then you just have to tap that little knot and you've got all your selection filled. Now I will be using a new layer for the hair, and I will be using this kind of brownish yellow for the hair. Again, use the selection tool. That part here as well. Okay, and I will be using one layer for each element, like one for her face, probably her hand too, one for the pumpkin, one for the stem of the pumpkin, the hat, the bow, ribbon, whatever is on her head, and one for her. I don't know the word. What is it? I can't think of the word. I will have to insert that. And one for the lace here, or the collar, whatever it is. Yes, I will speed that up and then I will be seeing you in a minute. Okay, so now I've got my base color set, and what I will be doing now is to define the edges of the colors a bit better. And because I'm not 100% sure if I want to keep the line work or not, I want to have an edge that looks textured and interesting. And what I will be doing is to reduce the opacity here of my sketch, and then I will go to each layer and use the sticks brush, which is, I think, in the drawing section. And I will be using the pink, and I will be painting the edges here, and I will try to get close to the sketch, but I really don't mind if this textured line here goes over the sketch and shows, because that's that's the look I want to achieve. Okay, so here we will have to be taking a look because the hand is above the dress. Yes, something like that. Getting back to my pink. So, and then just let's have a look if I set the opacity to 100%. And yes, now you can see I've got this nice textured edge here. I will be doing that for all of the layers again, and then I will be seeing you in a minute. Okay, so since I painted a bit over the edges, I will adjust the sketch a bit, and I will be doing that by going to the sketch layer and going to liquify, strange word, and I will be pushing the sketch to make it fit the color, because I'm still not sure whether I want to keep it or not. I usually like both versions, and especially with people I tend to leave in the sketch, and with animals I tend to leave it out, but I'm not quite sure how this will be going with the witch, so let me just quickly adjust that sketch a bit. Now this keeps the texture of the line work. If you like very straight lines, this might not be for you, because they will get a bit more wonky if you use liquify. But I love wonky lines, so this is not a problem for me. I can just see during the coloring process I decided to have that hair that's behind her or on her left side or whatever, to cut that out. I originally had it on this layer as well, and I cut that out and put it beneath the dress because it really is behind her and it's easier to paint that way. But now I can see that there is a little bit missing, so I will be painting that in. And then I will be going back to my sketch and the liquify tool. Okay, I think that's about it. Yes, that looks good. Now, before I keep on painting, I just quickly wanted to show you how the illustration looks without the overlay, and then again with the overlay, just to give you an idea about the difference there. And what I will also do before I continue painting is cutting out her facial features, and I will be doing that by using the selection tool, setting it to freehand, and then carefully drawing around her eyes, mouth and nose. 3-finger swipe, cut and paste, and now her facial features are on a new layer, and I can turn off the sketch, but I still got her eyes, mouth and nose in there, because these will very, very likely be still part of the finished artwork. Now, the first brush I will be using is the turpentine brush, and it's in the painting section. Yes, so I will be using that brush to create some color variation and also create some first shading. So let's start with the dress. I will just swipe that with 2 fingers, and that sets this layer to alpha lock, and this means that now I can only paint on that dress. Let me quickly show you. If I can't see anything, need another color. If I were to paint on this dress, the color just applies to her dress, but not to the rest of the artwork. Now, let's just quickly make that, redo that. Alpha lock again. And I will be selecting the pink, but I will make that a bit darker. And I will also drag that out so I can access it a bit quicker. And then I will be using the turpentine brush, like I said, and painting here beneath the hair to get in some shading. I'll just quickly try to find the right size. I think that's quite good. What I like about this brush is that it smudges and paints at the same time, so I often use it to, let me see, it's a bit too light. Like I said, to get in some color variation, and you can kind of mix these colors on the paper with this brush, just like with real life colors, and that is what I like about the turpentine brush. Okay, let's see. Can't get the recent here, so I will just quickly open this panel here. No. And maybe a bit of shading beneath her belt as well. Okay, getting in some very dark shading close to the hair. Okay, so in general I decided that I want the light source to be somewhere here. So this part of her, the right side, is more in the shade, and I can make that a bit darker. I'll turn off that sketch again, but set it, lower the opacity here, and we'll add in some darker area here under her arm, and again beneath the belt. I'm doing very messy strokes. Like I said, this is just to get in some color variation there. Okay, I think I'll leave it at that. Now I will be doing exactly the same thing for the skin, the pumpkin, the hat, and the hair. And I will speed that up for you and see you in a minute. Now, what's nice about this turpentine brush is that you can also dab with it to get some, let me just quickly show you, take a brown here, and use it like a stamp, again, to get some texture in. Make it a bit bigger here. So this is what I also do sometimes. I not just use it to paint and smudge, but I also use it to dab in some color. Now, next step will be to use some of my alcohol ink stamps, and let me see, I think I will be using these on her dress. And what I will be doing now is to use a clipping mask, so I will be adding a new layer and set that to clipping mask. And again, I will get to that original pink, but now I will be setting that layer to multiply. And I will be using, let's see, where are they? My alcohol ink stamps. I will be using this stamp here and just tap on that once. Can't really see a lot there. Let's see. Maybe I'll put it over here and duplicate it to make it a bit more visible. Yes, and now you can see it a bit better. And maybe do another one and set that over here. Now these alcohol ink stamps are similar to watercolor, but just better. I think they look much more ethereal, and I really like these hard edges they have. I'll put it here. Yes, maybe like this. And I will try to add a lighter color as well with an alcohol ink. Let's just take this one here, and that's quite nice. I will be adding that, let's see, maybe just this little part here. Set it to another blending mode. No, that's all too much. Screen could be nice, normal. Yes, I will set it to screen. And one more, which I will put somewhere here. Again, set it to screen, but maybe reduce the opacity a bit. I will also be adding some alcohol ink stamps to her head, and that's the same procedure. New layer, clipping mask, pick the original blue, make it a bit darker even. Now this edge here is already quite dark, so let's see, I will probably again have to duplicate the stamp. No, I want, one more time. What is happening here? Duplicate. Oh, I forgot to set it to multiply. That's why I couldn't see it. Duplicate. And yes, now I haven't got any layers left. That's always happening to me. I think I'm quite happy with the dress, so I will just pinch all of these together. And now I've got some new layers. And I set that to multiply here. And it's a bit more subtle, but still you can see. Oh, here I've got these alcohol ink blobs, and I think I will duplicate that as well. Pinch it together, but reduce the opacity a bit. And again, maybe make it a bit darker. Well, yes, that's okay. Okay, so I think that's it with the stamps. Maybe I will be using, no, let's see, I will be using one on the pumpkin, clipping mask, orange, bit darker, multiply, and let's use one more stamp, maybe just a simple one here. Tap that, it's too small. So there it is. Oh yes, that's nice. Oh. Maybe like this. And then again, I will be duplicating that to make it a bit more apparent. Now, and if you feel that this color, for instance, is too vibrant for you or not vibrant enough, what you can do is to go to use saturation brightness, and you can play here with the brightness or also with the saturation. And I feel I like it a bit better. Now this would be highly saturated, and I feel I like it a bit better if it's less saturated, maybe even a bit darker. Yes, that's great. Okay, now next step, I really like to have some scratches on my artwork, and this texture overlay already contains some scratches, but I will be adding some on the dress, and I will be doing that by adding a new layer, making it a clipping mask. And I've got this scratch brush here, which will also be in my Skillshare class texture brush set, and I will be using it with a white color and just add some, now I have to make it a bit bigger, Just add some scratches on her dress here and there and reduce the opacity a bit. Same goes for the hat. Again, add some scratches. Maybe I will also use them with a light gray. This fits the hat a bit more. Yes, so that's it for the scratches. I'm not quite happy with the hat. I think I don't like the alcohol ink on there, so we'll just delete that. But I am happy with the scratches, so I can pinch these two together. I'm also, I think, happy with the pumpkin. Am I? Oh, maybe I'll leave the pumpkin for now. I am happy with the dress, so again I will squeeze that together here. Now I realized that I forgot to have some white in her eyes. I will be adding a new layer and just select maybe a kind of pure white, double tapping the white area. Now I've got a pure white, and I will be using the freehand selection, selecting her eye and adding in some whites. Yes, that's a bit better. I also need some reflection in her eyes, and I will be using the dry ink brush to add some little, to add a reflection there. So her face is still kind of unnatural because the color is so flat, but I will be changing that later on. Now let's see, I will be adding a new layer on top of the hat, and I will be using the blue here, but setting that to multiply, making this a clipping mask. And I will be adding some more interest by using this dots brush here, which is also part of my brush set for the Skillshare class. And this one has some kind of smudgy little dots. And I will just add it here and there. Maybe also with a lighter color there. New layer. And especially with the ribbon, I'm not that happy with the ribbon, so maybe, where is it here? Here it is on my layers. I think I will add that directly to the ribbon. I will be using a light gray and also add in some of these little dots. Okay. Now I feel her face needs some work, so I want to add cheeks, but again I don't have any layers left, so I will be pinching these hat layers together, and let's see, there's not that much that I can pinch together. So what I will be doing now is to make my canvas yet a bit smaller, so I will have more layers again. And I go to canvas, crop and resize, settings, and it's important now again to resample your canvas so you don't lose any quality. Let's see, I will just go with 250, and now I should have gained some more layers there. Okay, so yes, I said the face needs more work. I will be adding some cheeks. I will be adding a new layer, make it a clipping mask, and use the fresco brush. I think that one is in the painting section. Is it? Yes, it is. And I will be using this kind of brown orangish pink here, and now I will be working on this white here, and I will set that to alpha lock again, go to my turpentine brush, and instead of this being a pure white, I will darken it, especially here beneath her eyelids. I think I will darken that even more. Yes, that's a bit better. And I also want her mouth to have a color. And I will be using the pink of her dress. Let's just see how that looks. Could be nice, could also be horrible. I'm not quite sure yet. I need to get in some color variation, I think. Maybe make it a bit darker in the middle there, and a bit lighter and less saturated / unnatural there. Oh, that's okay. So let's see, her hair also needs some work, and I think, no, first of all I will be working on that layer again with the turpentine brush and make it a bit more hair-like. That makes sense. By adding in some brush strokes. Sometimes I paint in, or on the sketch layer, I paint in sections for the hair, and that's quite helpful, what I now realized, because I don't really know which direction to go, but it still looks quite nice. So I will get back to that original color and make it a bit lighter and paint on, no, since I'm already here, I'm painting on this layer. And now I'm getting back to this layer here, and I will also be adding in some lighter parts there, and getting back to the darker brown. Also make sure I've got some darker parts. I'm actually quite satisfied with that, so I will be adding a new layer on top. I already did that, make that a clipping mask. And I will now be using, let's see, first of all I will be using the dry ink, and I will be using this brown, which I used for the sketch as well, and add in some hair strands. Okay, and I will be doing one more thing. I will be using my stitch brush, and this is not the natural look, but I really like how it looks, so I will be adding some very fine, maybe not from there, some very fine stitchy looking brush strokes. Now, let's see, I will be adding a pattern to the dress, and I do that by creating a clipping mask using again this off-white, and I've got a star pattern in my Ocean Love brush set, and I will be using these watercolor stars just to have a cute little pattern on her dress. Paint on there 3 times. Maybe make it bigger. Yes, that's better. And reducing the opacity just a little bit. Okay, so I'm getting closer. I'm not happy with her eyes yet. They look too flat, and that is because they are just, at this point, just sketches. So I will just quickly try to redraw them. Let's see. I will be using the turpentine brush and this brownish yellow here for her, is it pupils? Yes, for the pupils. And of course, these are not just a flat color, so I will try to get in, setting it to alpha lock and get in some color variation there. And especially at the top, I will make the eyes a bit darker. And maybe also little speckles that are a bit lighter. Okay, so now I will be working on this layer here and erasing parts of it. So I've got, let's see, I will be using the turpentine as an eraser. I'm just slightly dabbing in her eyes. To erase part of that inner crosshatch I did on the sketch. Okay, that's a bit better. I also want to reduce this line of her nose a bit to make it not too obvious. And maybe also here. Now that's better, but I'm still not 100% okay with the eyes, so I think they need a bit more darkness. So I will be using a dark brown on top of the sketch, and this is, I will be using that with the turpentine brush, and this will be her pupils. Make them look a bit over here. Yes, and that's getting a bit better there. Maybe a bit too dark here. Make it a bit more brown. Yes, and now her eyes look a bit more natural there. Quickly work on that sketch again. Oops. Okay, I need to have that white removed. Maybe set that to multiply. Oh yes, that's better. Reduce the opacity. No, I don't want to reduce it too much. And since I erased parts of my original or my eye sketch, which layer am I on? This one here. I'll also be redrawing some parts. So you can definitely see me struggling with the eyes, and I know that I haven't really found my ways of rendering eyes yet. I'm always trying to find the perfect way, but I never do. But I can live with that now. I want to quickly work on her mouth using the turpentine again and erasing a bit of that pink here. The last part will be to add some shadow and lighting. And let's see, before I actually use a clipping mask layer, I will try to get in some shading beneath her head just by using the turpentine brush. Now I'm nearly done. I just want to get in some shading there, and what I will be doing before is I will be working on her belt, because I feel you can't really tell that there is a belt. So I will be trying to adjust the color there, go to the magic wand, use saturation brightness, and maybe first of all make it darker. Okay, and how does it look if I make it brighter? Yes, I like that much more. So I will just make the belt lighter, and you can really see the sketch here. So let's see, I still got it on 42%. Now where is it again? This is the moment to decide whether I want to have the sketch to show or not. And I think I kind of like it with the sketch, so I will leave it in, and I will try out Lisa Glance's trick by, where is it again? Duplicating that sketch layer, setting it to linear burn, reducing the opacity, and make it a gauze and use the Gaussian blur. So this gives it the effect of a print. Let's see, I will have to reduce that as well. Okay, so yes, I really like that. I will just, here on the belt, I think I will erase it a bit because it's too strong. Yes, but that's actually quite nice. Now, I want to add in some shading, and I will be doing that by selecting my artwork, duplicating it. And I do this because I want to have my original layers on here. And what I will be doing here with my duplicate is to make all of these layers a group. Hit group and flatten. Now I can add a new layer here, make it a clipping mask, set that to multiply. And I will be using the fresco brush, which is in the painting section. Oh, I told you about that one before. So I will be using the fresco brush and a desaturated purple. And like I said, I want the light source to be here, so I will be adding in some shading on her right side. And I especially want there to be some shading beneath her head. And I hope that one will turn out nice. Maybe I will do that on a new layer. So let's just see, that's already quite nice. New layer, again setting it to multiply. And this is the shadow just for her face, erasing parts of that with the fresco brush. And maybe some shading here beneath her face, on her neck, and here. And let's see, some shading here on this pumpkin. Maybe also some more general shading. Now you can see it already looks a bit more 3D than it did before. I'll quickly show you. Okay, this is for the shading, and now another layer for the light effects. And even though it's intense, I love the add mode, and I will be using that one with a, let's see, some kind of yellow here. I will be adding that to my color palette there, and I just a bit brighter. Now the nice thing about this fresco brush is that if you press it down harder, it gets more intense, and if you just press it down lightly, you can just get this very subtle effect there. And maybe also here, and a little bit over here. Now I imagine the light hitting these parts of her face and body and hair. And let's see, make that a bit less obvious by reducing the opacity. So yes, I think that's about it. Now one last time showing you the illustration without the overlay and with the overlay. And yes, I really do prefer the overlay with this illustration, especially if you have a look at the hair. This doesn't really look very good. It looks kind of messy and digital as well. Now, if you put that overlay on top of this hair, it kind of merges it all together. So this is also a very nice effect when you use it. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial, and I hope I will see you again, maybe also in my Skillshare class or here on my YouTube. Bye!